toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms, raise us from the denseness of earth. Thy beauty do we worship, to thee alone do we give willing surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone do we aspire. Open our hearts toward thy beauty, illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, all-powerful creator, sustainer, judge, and forgiver of our shortcomings, Lord God of the east and of the west, of worlds above and below, and of the seen and unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our life, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. May the message of God reach far and wide. Inspire of my mind, consoler of my heart, healer of my spirit. Thy presence lifteth me from earth to heaven. Thy words flow as a sacred river. Thy thought riseth as a divine spring. Thy tender feelings awaken sympathy in my heart. Beloved teacher, thy very being is forgiveness. The clouds of thought and fear are scattered by thy piercing glance. All ignorance vanishes in thy illuminating presence. A new hope is born in my heart by breathing thy peaceful atmosphere. O inspiring guide through life's puzzling ways, in thee I feel abundance of blessings. O thou, the maker, molder, and builder of the universe, build with thine own hands the universal, our temple for thy divine message of love, harmony, and beauty. Yes, thank you. So we'll do the purification breaths. 3 each? Is that what we should do?
Four of each.
4 of each?
4 of each, because there's 5 with ether, so that's 20 breaths. So we're
Okay.
supposed to do 20 breaths.
So we'll do 5 of each.
4 of each.
4 of each, beginning with earth and anybody. In and out through the nose, connecting with the energy of earth. Feeling the deep, stable and sustaining energy of the earth. And then transitioning to the breath of water in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feeling the cleansing, purifying energy of water and the generosity and bounteousness of this element. Transitioning now to the element of fire in through the mouth and out through the nose, stoking the inner fires and allowing that energy to radiate out through your heart, the energy of compassion and love and what gives you passion in life. And transitioning to the energy of air, an incredible lightness of being in and out through the mouth. Transitioning now to the energy of ether in and out through mouth and nose. Very quiet breath, beginning with the exhalation, reaching your energy to the very edges of the ever-expanding universe and bringing that clarity and that fineness of energy back into your being with each inhalation. And we can do some sound breath now. We'll do 3 of those. So in the left nostril, whatever your natural inhalation is, count to 4 and then count to 8. Holding the breath with the eyes turned up and the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, and then relaxing the tongue, exhale down the other side. And then you'll switch sides and finally do the center.
1 time each side?
I do left. I do one side, then the other side, then the center, and then I do the set 3 times. Or you can do 3 of each in a row.
Okay, this is going to be a very psychological class today. Or at least that's how it's going to start out. We'll see if it ends up that way. Maybe not. Okay, so what I'd like you to do right from the beginning is get yourself in a nice, comfortable position. Forget the notebook for the time being. Where you feel supported and comfortable. Leslie,
Okay.
put down the notebook. So you feel nice and comfortable. Alright, good. Now just close your eyes. And focus on your eyelids. Imagining them to be extraordinarily relaxed. Just your eyelids. So relaxed, in fact, that even if you were to ask your eyes to open, they won't. Because you've decided that they're so deeply relaxed. And then allow that sensation to flow out over your face. And then let it very slowly sink through your body, this deep sense of relaxation, comfort, peace, tranquility. As if there's a gentle wave of relaxation and peace flowing from the top of your head right down to your toes with each breath. Just imagine that. Every time you take a breath, this wonderfully exquisite wave of gentle relaxation flowing right through your body from the top of your head down to your toes. And with each breath, become a little more relaxed. And what you can do is just let your mind wander down through your body and notice if there's any tense muscles. Let them go. If you're wondering, this is a precursor to a samadhi meditation Pure Life gives. A little different, but essentially the same. First you concentrate on the breath, and then you concentrate on relaxing the body. Area by area, muscle group by muscle group. Continuing to imagine that wave, that wonderful wave of relaxation flowing through you with each breath. To the point where you might feel rather dense and heavy. Sinking into the chair or into your position. Deeper and deeper. More and more relaxed with each passing moment. Comfortable. Calm, tranquil, and serene. deeply and comfortably. Now imagine, if you would, that you're standing on a beach. Looking out over the ocean on a very calm, warm summer's day. Watching the gentle swells roll in very slowly. The sky is a dark, deep blue of summer, the sun is high, a little offshore breeze keeping your skin cool and surrounding you with that wonderful atmosphere of the ocean, calm and soothing, so very relaxing. Just imagine you're standing there, feeling the ocean, the aroma, the essence of the sea all around you, as if it is entering into your being right through the pores of your skin. And then as you exhale contentment and calm. Just standing there, feeling the ocean, watching the rollers come in, and that the way the waves, the ocean kind of gently flows up the beach, hesitates and recedes, smoothing out the beach, calming and soothing your being with each gentle wave. Just notice how that feels. And let it flow through you with each breath. This is a process, a practice of allowing your natural inner sense of comfort and control, peace and tranquility to flow to the surface. Now what I'd like you to do, standing there on the beach, is begin walking along the beach. And with each step, imagine or rethink of some moment in your life that you find somewhat significant. Take your time, each step. They can be very simple moments in the recent past, and as you walk further and further, more significant moments that may have affected you in some way. Each step taking you a little deeper into your inner psyche. Each step taking you a little deeper into your memory. And there'll come a point at which you will remember or recognize an event that you will often bury or ignore or not think about, but there will be some time in the past. And when that occurs, what I'd like you to do is just raise one of your hands a little bit. All right, and just hold on to that moment. stay very relaxed, relive the moment. Now, what I want you to do at this time is to remember who you were at that moment, because that's not who you are now. Reestablish your emotional structure, your physical attributes, the things you were doing, who you were with, all of the things that surrounded that moment. I want you to reestablish them. And then open your eyes. Take your time. As soon as you feel comfortable, and open your eyes. And now what I want you to do is write it down. Just as if you're writing a diary. Write it down. Oh, you want a piece of paper? Okay, let's see. Now, no one else has to read this. It's not like we have to share anything, but to write it down. Okay. Here's where we get into the lesson. From Pure Goliath. Perhaps one of the most crucial meditation techniques I have been teaching has been recalling events in our lives while recapturing the kind of personality we exhibited at the time of each occurrence. Then we can see the impact of our personalities upon an event. Now, it's critical here to recognize that who you were at that moment is not who you are now. But what we want to see is how this has basically contributed to your current state. Okay, then we see, okay, I said that. The conclusions we arrive at help us to realize the extent to which our qualities, foibles, actions, and fears, beliefs, and motivations contribute to the structuring of an event. In other words, how you remember it. This is important to preclude the tendency one easily slips into of considering oneself to be the victim of occurrences wreaked upon one by circumstances outside one's control. More importantly, the insight we gain by plotting our life's curve will act as a step forward, structuring our future more congruently and creatively. Okay. By plotting our life's curve, we can scan the framework. This gives us an understanding of the issues in our lives and their implications, and a hand in respect to our motivations and expectations. Okay? I'll read that again. This gives us an understanding of the issues in our lives and their implications in respect to our motivations and expectations, and a handle on our free will to shift the structuring process the way we wish and restructure our life's pattern accordingly. Anybody want to rephrase that?
The last bit,
Yeah.
paragraph.
Okay, the framework in which we plot our lives will be divided into two sections. Someone told me that I had sent this material to it. This is called structural psychology. I did not know it, but apparently it was developed in the 50s. And it's a person who's a counselor kind of person. And it's something that they use all the time, with this process, structural. Apparently Fairlight must have read about it and adapted it. Okay. The two sections. A, the events and our psyche's processing of them, that is, our perception of the event. Okay? However it is that you think about it now.
And that could be called subjective
Yeah, of course it's subjective.
observation.
Sure. Okay, and B, the changes in our personality registering the impact of the event, interpreting it, assessing the situation, adapting and adjusting to the resultant required information, and learning skills. Okay? To each of these modes, there will be factors in which correspondences may be discovered. So for each occurrence in our earlier life, we need to observe the effect of both modes. And this is where we get to what we just did. Recall the event as objectively as possible. How'd you do with that, by the way? It looked to me like it was emotional.
Yeah, it became emotional.
Yeah. Is that true for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
You were objective? I don't want to know the event. I just want to know if you were or not.
I
Okay.
must have been.
Okay. That's fine. That's what you want, to recall the event as objectively as possible, which is what I'd like you to do now. And B, recall the personality traits you remember having at the time. That's the critical one.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, here we go. And I want you to, pay close attention to this. This is why I had you write it down. Relive the impression you retain thereof. For example, if it was a dramatic event, write down the event, which we just did. And by recounting it, the wording of the narrative will give you a clue to the impression. Okay? So go back and read what you wrote. And note your own wording. How'd you put it down? As opposed to if I were writing it down just having heard it from you, how would I write it down? As a writer, right? This will give you a clue. This is the subjective ingredient that we projected and still project upon the event. Okay, how's that feel so far? We have a long way to go. We just got started.
Okay. So we want to reread this and see
how you wrote it out. Yeah, you wrote it out in the moment. Okay, I was watching everybody just kind of writing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I want you to go back and reread it and see what kind of language you used. It could have been, phrased some other way if you were more objective. This will give you a clue as to how you see this experience.
As soon as I write, I become objective.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, then that's okay.
But when I'm feeling it, I'm not.
When you feel it, what words do you use? Are they different from how you wrote it down? We could try it that way. That's what we're looking for. The subjective experience.
How you felt when you wrote it down.
Mm-hmm. Or how you were feeling when you were remembering the experience. You know, if you're like Sarala and you instantly become objective, then, which is probably what I would do, you know, myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I write this stuff out a lot, so. I didn't realize I did this exercise all the time, actually. Now.
Remembering situations in your life, experience.
This particular situation that you wrote down.
Yeah.
You
And
mean
I'm
for
saying-
me? Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And then looking at the how you
Okay.
saw it and what the values or who you were.
Okay, now, next, everybody got something down there? The next thing is the changes in your personality.
Since that time, or what?
Yeah.
Why because of that
Or
time?
Two-
because there were two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is it, 2B. This might be difficult to determine, let's see, what does he say?
There were the
The
changes.
changes in your personality, registering the impact of the event, interpreting it, assessing the situation, adapting and adjusting to the resultant information, and learning skills.
There was something before that about what traits you had that, in a sense,
That's
created.
an
Huh?
A. That's A.
Okay.
And B
But I
is
haven't done that yet.
okay. A is relive the example and relive who you were at the time. Okay? And B is what that's done to you as you exist currently. Here's how he writes it. This might be difficult to determine since the event is so subjective. Check whether that early impression has continued to live in you even while the memory of the event lies dormant. And see how it has tainted your personality, determined the direction of your life's thrust, and shaped its course throughout the years. Check how the impression of a personality has influenced your whole life's curve. Now, in this regard, Pierre Vilayet used to talk about certain events in his life that he knew had shaped his life's curve. One was when he had the motorcycle accident and his girlfriend was killed. That was a biggie. Another is, the learning of the death of his sister. And another, there were a couple others that are more private, but those are two things he
But
talked
we're
about.
looking at this event specifically and how it shaped it. Okay.
How it shaped you. Initially, you look at it as
Person.
what your personality was at the time,
Yeah.
and then the second step is to look at how it shaped you.
Okay. That's wild.
Anybody see what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how we doing?
Okay.
Okay? Alika?
Yeah.
Ready to move on, Tajli?
Yeah, I just want to get this one little thing down here.
Okay, go ahead. We'll patiently wait. Stare at you. this is where they say, I guess you could say, this is where we separate the men from the boys, so to speak.
Good thing I'm a woman.
Yeah, well, the women from the girls. Where things get serious. Okay, so moving on. Next step. What we saw in the occurrence was a measure of the picture of the world we had constructed so far in the developmental stage we had reached at that time.
Can you read that one more time, please?
What we saw in the occurrence, whatever the event was for you, was a measure of the picture of the world image that we had constructed so far in the developmental stage we had reached at that time. And here he says something even more interesting. The enzymes we meted out to process the ingesting of psychic food.
Whoa.
That's such a statement.
which in fact you did.
Yeah.
If the event was a difficult or traumatic one, there was definitely a flow of enzymes through your body, or hormones. Right? Hormonal response.
Funny, when I wrote my first thing, the last sentence that I wrote that was my world.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. So that's the first step. The personality. Again, 3A, right? The step that you go through to see what your personality was at the time. And here comes the next one. This is more complex. If we wish to arrive at clarity, we need to distinguish between our thinking at the time when the event occurred that distorted our impression of it, because the event itself was neutral. This is really critical. You always have to remember that. The event itself is always neutral as far as the universe is concerned. You see it as positive or negative or whatever it is, energy you give to it based on your personality at the moment. Right? Okay, distinguish between our thinking at the time when the event occurred that distorted our impression of it and the unbroken chain of interpretations recurrently reviewed up to the present. That's the critical one.
Say it again.
Our thinking at the time when the event occurred that distorted our impression of it, okay? And the unbroken chain of interpretations recurrently reviewed up to the present that were triggered off by the event. The event occurs.
Okay.
You bring your personality to it, whatever's taking place at the moment, in that time, whoever you were then. And that's what determines how it is you're going to think about it. And then you just continually replay that, regardless of the maturity that you are concurrently experiencing.
So is it?
So we keep perceiving in that old personality.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so we're creating all the way a reinforcement of that.
Constantly.
Okay.
Yeah. This is real basic.
Okay.
This is it.
Okay.
It's like, the best example is an example that I give hypnosis clients. Somebody that has that's stuttering. Stuttering is not genetic. It's not a disease. It's something you learn very early, and then you just keep at it and keep reinforcing it from every stressful moment that occurs. Okay, we do the very same thing, only in more subtle ways. There's not necessarily any external evidence, as there is with stuttering. Or walking around stoop-shouldered. That's another one. Posture can come from being abused, for instance. When it's not necessary, you don't have to do it. You can stand up straight. Okay? Okay, now here we go. Go back to your event, and then think of it in this way. Check to ascertain how these pigeonholes in which we accommodated impressions have been updated in the course of the years so that it is clear that our current recollection of the past is tainted by our present view of the world. Okay, so that's a further development. You actually mutate and distort the event. Okay? Consciously and intentionally reinforce this updating of your imago mundi, which is, how it is you see the world. Picture or representation of the world to match it with the new vistas arrived at in your input processing so as to leave no discrepancy undealt with. So go back into the event, whatever it was, repicture it, and then turn the light of your current capacity on this event, who you are now. And just see if that somehow changes it in any way. Okay. Next, remember your emotional attunement at the time, or the emotional background in which the event erupted. Say, for example, that you were in a depressed mode and failed to respond to a helping hand, or see the potential of the situation offered by destiny. I don't know if that's true for you, but if it is, then just have a look at that in this moment.
Can you say that again?
Remember your emotional attunement at the time, or the emotional background in which the event erupted. Say, for example, that you were in a depressed mode and failed to respond to a helping hand, or see the potential of the situation offered by destiny.
This isn't working for me because I'm going back to very, very early childhood and being physically abused. And all I hear is, what was my fault? That's all I'm hearing.
That's not what it's saying. It's not what it's saying at all. You need to look at it as it is from your point of view now and see how it molded you. It's not about fault, it's just about how it molded you, that's all.
But he's saying, you failed to take a helping hand. I mean, that's all self-blame.
But
No,
that's just
that
an
was an example.
that you don't need to refer to.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't apply to the situation. It's
That's
not right. So just as he said, how did this mold you now?
Yeah.
Or and how did you? It's like how did you shift and change and emerge from that horrendous situation?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how did you?
These kinds of circumstances we all have. Every one of us has something like that, right? Just because of the way our culture operates. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Some parents got a little too enthusiastic. Now, recall your emotional response or reaction to the event just interpreted. For example, oh, well, this is not going to apply to you or to anyone, but it triggered off or reinforced latent fear, suspicion, sardonic judgmentalism, mistrust, resentment, or guilt. Or did it elicit a desire that one had not yet encountered? That's more close to what you were saying, isn't it? You have something to say?
Well, my event is very neutral.
Okay.
It's not it's sort of a memory,
Okay.
but a very neutral one. So but there are dynamics.
Then that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you?
Oh, this is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I said it was going to be difficult at the
Yeah.
beginning.
It's, I've been looking at this for the past year, and this is filling in a lot of blanks for me.
Okay.
So that, I'm both emotionally, but then, I am able to get to a neutral place. It's answering a lot of questions. I think the difficult part for me is that it's calling forth a level of responsibility that I had been hinting around to, but I just feel a little bit overwhelmed by it.
Okay.
It's triggering a lot for me as well.
I think that's what his intention was.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In other words, here is something that this is an exercise that is deliberate on Pure Reliance part because, and the reason is because when all you had to do was look around at any of these camps and you'd see all these people floating around, right,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling all spiritual and happy and whatnot, and completely ignoring their psyche. Pretending that,
Bypassing. Yeah.
totally bypassing, pretending that everything was wonderful, telling one another that everything was wonderful. I remember those days. I'm sure you do too. It was just,
I guess I'm starting, maybe it's a wondering, it's like which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is my psyche and my ego and my, external messaging, especially from my religion, my firstborn religion on earth, which is Christianity, is it leaving that psychic impression, which is creating that, but then it goes so much deeper into that, what I'm experiencing reinforces some of what I've been told, but it expands so much bigger. It's just like, it reduces it to like folklore-ish, but there is some of those details that I'm experiencing are truth with a capital T. So I guess I'm kind of caught in this crux of, am I tricking myself right now into believing this is this and that is that? And as we keep going, it is becoming neutral and I'm sorting it out, but I'm still constantly like trying to switch off that switch of, am I tricking myself with this imagery?
Well, if I may, the interesting thing about all of this is that he intended us to go through our entire life this way. This was only one incident, one memory.
Okay.
So if we go back
Okay.
to as much as we can remember
Okay.
and plot it out in similar ways, then other things will reveal themselves.
Okay.
And gradually, over time, the insights will come to us. Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Okay.
It will
Okay.
unfold. So this is just one
Thank you.
example of doing this. I remember when Pierre Vilayet gave this talk. I was there. You know, it might have been 30 years ago, I don't know. But I was there, and I was one of the ones that were floating around, you know.
Yeah.
I could not do it.
Yeah.
Could not do it at the time.
Okay.
You know, so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, I need to do this now. You know, and see this. And as the incident that I remembered and wrote down, I realized it was a point of freeing myself from my own impression of who I thought I was and the world and so on. But also there are also shades of it that still exist, you know, in subtle ways, but differently, you know.
Yeah.
So now did it continue, you know, that part of this continued in my life in certain ways. And so it's good to be able to look at that and see, in a sense, how our opinions and our decisions reinforced it. I mean, even if you were beaten up as a child, it's like you that was not your fault, you know. But you came to some kind of decisions about, you know, when you were a little kid about this, you know, and it's sad and hurtful and bewildering and all kinds of things would occur to you. You know, that this is how the world is. And it's like, and throughout our lives, it's like this shifts and changes. And, you know, so if we take a look at the entire scope of our life, then things will become clearer. Is it?
Yep.
Is that, okay.
Good one.
I don't understand the purpose at all.
This
I don't
is.
understand the healing. I'm looking for the healing in it.
Well, let's
Where's
wait
the
and
healing?
find out. Okay. Could you detect, this is the A part, the influence of your family background in the way you responded or dealt with problems, and still do? Similarly, the influence of the cultural background, which is what you were talking about, in which you were brought up. Could you earmark the first situation in your life in which you took an initiative that marked a departure from your inheritance or your culture? Let's try that.
Is that from the same incident or from
No, this
from a
is,
new
as you were
incident?
saying, from a, you know,
A
right.
different incident?
Could be different, right? But, you know, all of these things go to shape who you are, right? Whatever they may be, even if they are disturbing. So find the first situation in your life in which you took an initiative that marked a departure from your inheritance or your cultural matrix.
Not necessarily relative to this incident that we wrote down.
Not necessarily, but that's going to be an influence, isn't it? The first time that you took initiative. Said, I ain't gonna. Or something similar. And you've got it just, you know, over your eyes or something. Manja, what are you doing?
I'm going back and having a memory.
Did you have the memory?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Okay. But it had become clear that what the decision was and what, it's like I had to go into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, can you ascertain whether this occurrence triggered off those idiosyncrasies, family and culture, that were previously latent, making you aware of these, and how did it enrich your personality? In discovering or remembering right now the first time that you took an initiative, can you see how it shifted and changed who you are now? Think about that. How's everybody doing?
Do you mind reading that last statement again, please?
Can you ascertain whether the occurrence, this moment of,
Departure.
triggered off those idiosyncrasies that were previously latent, making you aware of? In other words, when you took that initiative, that first moment of the first time you said, I ain't gonna, were you also aware that there were aspects of your being that were suddenly beginning to flower? There's another way to put it.
Yeah, okay.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, beginning to flower. Yeah.
That's me. That's not pure life.
I know, but it struck a chord.
And how did it enrich your personality?
My first memory was very
Neutral, you say.
neutral, and then this next one is very charged.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
it has a lot more effect as far as the ripple in my life.
Now, here's the next step. Ready? Okay. At which stage in your life, sparked by which event, did you become aware of an essential individual identity transcending all the stuff, genetic, family, cultural, and mediated by your personal incentive, yet which could not be attributed to your will as representing the personal dimension of your being, but to your investiture of the creative impulse, the bounty of metaphors, splendor, archetypal qualities, ecstasy of the whole universe, envisioned as a composite being. In other words, when did you realize that there was something going on which wasn't being explained to you? When did that happen? And assuming that it was sparked by an event. Not necessarily, but maybe it was. So is that a reality for you?
That at some point we came to an understanding of.
You became aware that you have an individual identity which transcends who you are told you are. How's that?
Okay.
Is that? I mean, he says all this stuff, and that's pretty basically what he says. Right? You're informed from the very beginning of your life as to who you are and who you are meant to be. Your culture tells you that. Your family tells you that. Your society tells you that. Right? But there comes a point, if you're doing this kind of work, where you begin to realize, I'm more.
These three, you know, in different aspects, you know, throughout your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a like a bell curve, I suppose. Oh no, it's like a learning curve. It's a learning curve.
Those,
The initial learning curve is very steep. Right? It's like the sudden realization, I am more than what I've been told. But then you have to, as you're, ascending the curve, right, this learning curve, there's all kinds of stuff that you reinvent, I suppose, or pretend to, or express in various ways.
well, it's more than that. It's like the impressions are in your subconscious. So
Yeah.
it's like, without you knowing it, it consciously you create. You again reflect those impressions.
Mm-hmm. It's going to decide how it is you. That's right.
Yeah.
How it is you respond. You guys see where I'm leading this yet? Maybe. Or where you're being led? Okay, now, describe which qualities surfaced as a result of this breakthrough. You had a breakthrough, everyone does. If you're sitting here in this room, you must have had one, or several. Which qualities surfaced as a result of this breakthrough, and can you see that although these qualities were transmitted to you in a mitigated form through your ancestors or exemplified in your culture, the discovery of your transcendental and cosmic dimension endowed you with a whole other level of the same qualities, unlimited in scope? And what qualities came through or emerged as a result of this initial experience of individuation, as Jung would call it? purpose of this recording, everybody is busily writing away. I'm going to pause. Remembering that event of transformation, whatever it might have been, which, when you look back on it now, it probably seems, somewhat childish, but that's what mine does, but nevertheless. Okay, now here's what he said. You may now check what your motivation was at the time, in terms of your scale of values and the role it played in attracting the event.
Wow, that's
What was your motivation at the time of your transformative experience? Or that initial moment of individuation? In terms of your scale of values at the time, not what you're feeling now. And then the role that played in attracting, or I would say enabling, the event or the experience to unfold. At the time, it probably felt like a kind of shattering or brightening of one's world experience, or something like that. Could have been either one or both. Now, for the B part of that,
there's more.
oh yeah, we're not bad. I told you, this is a long one. Yeah, we're not done at all. Now, from your current point of view, I believe that's what he's saying, check whether your interpretation of the issue then, together with your assessment of the implications of the problem at the time, lead you to reevaluate your motivation. The motivation at the time was one thing. How do you see it now? Now look back in retrospect in terms of your current scale of values, which indeed one keeps reviewing as one advances. As you unfold and as you become more and more who you are, your scale of value continues to change. So,
yeah, it's kind of interesting. Is it? I'm feeling that is all from the point of view of from how we are responsible for all of this. But I'm wondering how much we are affected by the divine impulse within us. That it is not in a sense. Part of it may be a choice on our own or a desire on our own part, but there's some other action happening, a divine action happening at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's not just even divine action. There's also familial, social, and cultural things happening.
Yeah, but I was taking all that into consideration.
Yeah.
But on the other, yeah.
Okay, so. Yeah. What you want, you have a point of view now that's different from the point of view you had at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at. Seeing it from that new point of view. And there's a third thing that I don't know if he gets to it here. I don't remember. We'll see it with the reassessment at the end. I'll get to it. Now, once again, remembering this transformative moment, or a series of transformative moments. That's me. Here's Pierre Vilayat. Recall the beliefs you entertained at the time of the event and how those beliefs affected how you reacted. For example, your sense of sacredness or respect for the spiritual status of a human being preserved you from retaliating towards someone who hurt you, or a certain kind of stoicism preserved you from the despair of a financial loss, for instance. In other words, that transformative event is going to be triggered by something that forces you to reevaluate who you are and what the experience really means. You can continue, what many people do is they continue to evaluate things in terms of their emotional structure without changing it. But everyone in this room has at some point changed their emotional structure, haven't they? Everybody says yes. Not yet. Okay? All right. Ready to do the next one?
Almost. I just want to add, please, that in the with what Sarah was talking about, I think it's important for us to, and crucial for us to know that it's not an inevitability that you had created. You didn't draw that and magnetize that in any way, shape, or form from the origin of the personality. That there are factors that exist that are created and perpetuated by others. That evil, if you want to call it, can exist without you having desired to participate in it. So there can exist a space where there's an elimination of any fault and responsibility. And I think that's important for you to internalize.
Good way to put it. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Ready for the next one? You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Now recognize if the event shattered your belief or led you to refine your belief, shifting it from a belief to becoming a faith. You guys know the difference between belief and faith?
Mm-hmm.
Belief is something that you want to happen. Faith is something that you know has happened. Okay? That's the classic Sufi definition. I know not everyone does it that way, but that's the way we do it. Like I have faith in my deepest experiences because they happened to me.
Right.
Right? Did you achieve a higher understanding not constrained by information processing but based on a realization of an essential purposefulness in the programming and reprogramming of the universe? Okay, now recognize if the event shattered your belief or led you to refine your belief, shifting it from a belief to becoming a faith. Did you achieve a higher understanding, not constrained by information processing, but based on a realization of an essential purposefulness in the programming and reprogramming of the universe? Now, I suspect that most people don't see it like that. They're going to see it much more individually and selfishly, if you will. But nevertheless. Okay? You don't have to write anything. Just be aware that that's taking place within you on a continual basis as long as you're paying attention. Now, we're going to wrap it up. Anticipation. Recall if at the time the event took place, you had an uncanny sense of an encounter with destiny or a preview of unexplored potentials for the future or a kind of premonition of future events. Could you say that?
Can you read it again, please?
Recall if at the time, just remember we're talking about the transformative experience. Recall if at the time the event took place you had an uncanny sense of an encounter with destiny or a preview of unexplored potentials for the future or a kind of premonition of future events. I'm going to tell you my event, my transformative event, okay, that I know was the moment when I realized there was something else going on. I'd been pretending for some time. This would be in 78. Or maybe 77, I'm not sure. I'd been, huh?
How old were you?
I don't know, add it up. 32, 33, something like that. And I'd been reading a lot of material and pretending for some time that I was metaphysically really cool and spiritually awake and all those things. And the current wife not the current wife, the
Wife
first
at the
wife.
time.
the wife of the time,
Previous wife.
previous wife, had left. She'd gone off on her own adventure, and I was there living in Lincoln City, Oregon, with 2 small children. And I had a babysitter that came and watched the kids while I went to work. And I came home. I was driving, I'll never forget this, an international pickup, which was a monster of a truck, got like 9 miles to the gallon. No real beast. And I had all my tools in it. I was working as a carpenter at the time. I had a truck full of tools. And we were living in the top floor of a house, and there was another couple, a younger couple, living in the bottom floor. And they were not, I told you this story, and they were not exactly happy with the fact that there were children living above who would run back and forth, you know. I think Heather was like 4, so, you know, they run. And I come home, I pull into the parking lot, and there's this guy standing with his wife. His wife's got the baby, and he's I knew that he was quite convinced that he had these martial arts skills. And I see him, and right beside me in the seat is a crowbar and a hammer and knives and chisels and things, right? All of which I could have, you know, I knew it was going to happen. I could feel it. But something happened at that moment. I just got out of the truck, left all the tools, and I just walked up to him. And he started threatening and going on and on about the children running back and forth and how noisy it was, and he wasn't going to put up with it anymore. And so on and so forth. And there, a crowd had gathered by this time, you know, crowds being what they are, hoping to see something dramatic. And I just looked at him, and something happened. There was a moment of absolute transformation. I'll never forget the feeling. Like it just was like a descent flowing right through me, and I just looked at him and I said, well, you can do that, but I'm not going to fight you. There would be no purpose in it. He didn't quite know what to say. I mean, if I had been, you know. And at that moment, something happened that he's describing here. Something happened inside of me where, you know, I shifted, I changed, you know, and there was still a lot of work to do, but that emotion at the time was extremely advanced. Mm-hmm. Not who I was at all, because the person that I was would have grabbed the crowbar. And that transformation was, I don't know if, I really honestly don't know if it was something external, some angelic force saying, okay, your turn, or if it was something from inside that just recognized the moment had come, or what. I don't know what it was. But that's what happened. That's my moment. Okay?
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Sort of like a peaceful warrior that
Yeah.
you had something in you had decided the way of peace, and
Not quite. I'm still quite capable of combat. Don't think I'm not. But at that moment, that was the most.
Masada hides the crowbars.
Yeah. I have a lot of them. But at that moment, that was the most correct thing to do.
Yeah.
Next week, this kid goes out and starts going to the mental health clinic.
Mm.
You know, it transformed him. Okay.
So it was a mutual.
He didn't know it. Yeah, it was a mutual unveiling for both of us.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I want to get through to you guys. It is not, you're not isolated in some way.
yeah,
Okay?
Yeah, that's how one of the transformative events was a mutual thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Mine was solo.
That's okay. You'd still
Yeah.
affected how you dealt with other people, even though you might not have known it at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Changes things. Changes
Well,
who you are.
Mine, if I may,
Go ahead.
it's not going to be real long, but it was in high school. I went on a kind of a spiritual search, going to all the different churches, all whatever different churches I could go to, and then I found a little black book in the library, and I was not friendly with the libraries because I had dyslexia, which I didn't know, but reading was extremely difficult. So it was a small little black book. I went up onto the roof of my high school by myself and went to read this little book, and it was on the Baha'i faith.
Oh.
And I remember being up there reading about this universal God, spirit, and feeling like, oh, geez, I finally found what I was looking for. You know,
Yeah.
that there is an acknowledgement of, you know, great.
Of
a
the
great
reality
being.
that you sensed but didn't know how to describe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it, you know, didn't know where it was or existed.
Thank you. Okay. I experienced
The
it,
fact that I went up on
everything
the
that
roof alone. That was.
everything that he's talking about here, I experienced in that moment. It was quite a full moment. Okay? Did you have a hunch of a whole new development in your life, or a foreboding of impending disaster that indeed was confirmed later on? That can happen too. You know, recall, you know, in fact, I got to tell you that every time I'm about to do for a transformation, one of the indication that I get, I'm used to it now, is a sense of impending doom. That's the feeling that I get. You know, I'm hoping not to have that again, but who knows? You know, but then it, you know, there's something happens and it always turns out okay. But that's what it feels like. Recall whether instead of being stymied by the trauma of the event, you enjoyed that quintessential moment of truth where you could see yourself in the universe with all its implications in an overview, in a supreme flash of clarity, realization, a moment of awakening. Okay? Now, everybody in this room has had that to a greater or lesser degree. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't. Right? You just described it. That was your flash of clarity, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 9B. We're up to 9. Decision making. This is your homework. Monitor that attunement into an overview right now, consciously and volitionally, so that you have the feeling of extreme alertness, awareness, clarity, and honesty. So do that right now. Just monitor it. Just look at it. You don't have to write it down. Just think, you know, settle into it, into whatever that moment of transformative experience was. Now, in the light of the above, reschedule your life, undertakings, activities, reassess priorities, redefine orientation. It's crucial to use the information and wisdom we have gleaned by past experience to shape and schedule the direction or patterns of our life in the future. Yet encourage your sense of intention, orientation, purposefulness, and meaningfulness to lure yourself forward to the extent that the pull of the future will aver itself stronger than the push of the past. Affirm expectations. This will lead you to a recommitment or rededication formulated as a vow or promise or covenant with the being of which the physical universe is the body, whose mind pervades your mind, and whose love arouses your glorification. Let's do noon prayers.
Most gracious Lord,
Master, Messiah, and Savior of humanity, we greet thee with all humility. Thou art the first cause and the last effect, the divine light and the spirit of guidance, Alpha and Omega. Thy light is in all forms, thy love in all beings, in a loving mother, in a kind father, in an innocent child, in a helpful friend, in an inspiring teacher. Allow us to recognize thee in all thy holy names and forms, as Rama, as Krishna, as Shiva, as Buddha. Let us know thee as Abraham, as Solomon, as Zarathustra, as Moses, as Jesus, as Muhammad, and in many other names and forms, known and unknown to the world. We adore thy past, thy presence deeply enlightens our being, and we look for thy blessing in the future. O Messenger, Christ, Nabi, the Rasul of God, thou whose heart constantly reaches upward, thou comest on earth with a message as a dove from above when Dharma decays, and speakest the word that is put into thy mouth, as the light filleth the crescent moon. May the star of the divine light shining in thy heart be reflected in the hearts of thy devotees. May the message of God reach far and wide, illuminating and making the whole of humanity as one single family in the parenthood of God. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. 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 A torch in the darkness, a staff during my weakness, a rock in the weariness of life. Thou, my Master, makest earth a paradise. Thy thought giveth me unearthly joy. Thy light illuminateth my life's path. Thy words inspire me with divine wisdom. I follow in thy footsteps, which lead me to the eternal goal. Comforter of the brokenhearted, support of those in need, friend of the lovers of truth, blessed Master, thou art the prophet of God. O thou who art the maker, molder, and builder of the universe, build with thine own hands the universal, our temple for thy divine message of love, harmony, and beauty.